The last and the final session for Distribution Utility Meet DUM23 is the 7th session, Rise of the Prosumer and the Prosumer Engagement Strategies for Net Zero Power Systems. The discussion points would be distribution energy resources, DER, and its impact on prosumer growth on DISCOMs, peer-to-peer, P2P, transactions of green energy and local energy markets, prosumer engagement strategies and case studies, real-time or time-of-use tariff schemes, and to chair and moderate this session, I would like to request Mr. Rahul Tongia, Senior Fellow, CSEP, to please come on to the stage. Just give us 2 minutes. Just give us 2 minutes. Power Ledger. Anjali Vishwakarma, Executive Engineer, MPPK VVCL, Indore. Alok Mishra, Business Lead Power Grid, APAC DNV. And Birendra Chaudhary, DGM IT, NPCL. Rahul sir, on to you. I give you the session and we have exactly 1 hour.
Most important session of the 2 days, because we're going to deal with the consumer. We heard snippets about the consumer. I think all of us here are consumers. Spot check. So before we get into it, I just want, I won't take the time to actually introduce all of our distinguished panelists in the interest of time, but we have people from DISCOMs, we have people from industry, we have a wide mix of specialists, and I'm your moderator come chair, so 2 for the price of 1. I'm Rahul Tongia, scholar, researcher, and an old hand in developing, designing smart grids in the US and India for 20 years. How many of you know your electricity bill rate? 1 hand went up so far. 2 hands. Nobody, very few know. And now, as you would realize, there's not 1 number on the bill that matters, but more than 1. Other than total consumption, because we have slabs of electricity consumption as households, in most places your average rate and your marginal rate are not the same. So now let's think of a future. So what was the old world? The consumer engaged how? They want, I'm quoting Sanjay Banga from yesterday, consumer wants quality power at the cheapest price. But in the future world, there are many more ways the consumer is going to or can or should engage with the grid and the rest of the system. So consumers are the most important part of this. So when the bank robber, Willie Sutton, was asked, why do you rob banks? Well, that's where the money is. So where is the money in the electricity system? It flows bottom up from the consumer. Let's ignore subsidies for a second, because there's a little bit of money in the subsidy space. So what are some new ways consumers will be engaging? We will have prosumer, producer-consumer as one option, but there's much more than prosumer. Because when you consume is a form of engagement. Your bill today may not reflect time of day, but we know that the grid is not the same at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Procurement for DISCOMs costs differently. So this entire aspect of time of day is a critical change that will happen. Now the question is, how much will consumers be ready? What can they do? If you have a price differential worldwide, there are studies on price elasticity. We don't know what the Indian price elasticity is because most TOD deployments in India are for bulk consumers and with very modest differentials, typically up to 1 rupee between peak and off-peak, typically. We have, what are the different ways that consumers can engage? Now, when we say the word consumer, we typically think of households, but commercial and industrial are a very key set of consumers as well. So there's rooftop solar. How many of you think rooftop solar is a very big deal for India today? It's modest. Most solar is grid scale. How many of you think in the next 5-10 years, rooftop solar can explode? So in Western Australia, 1 out of 2 homes has rooftop solar. It completely changes the picture for DISCOMs, for grid procurement planning, when you have behind the meter energy technologies. So it's not just rooftop solar, now you will have rise of electric vehicles. How many here have an electric vehicle? Few hands have gone up. And assuming you're not like the person yesterday we heard about who takes their vehicle up to the apartment, what time do you charge? Daytime or nighttime, typically? Overnight? So now if you say, I want my EV to be green, you should be charging it in the middle of the day, which is solar aligned. It may not easily happen. Then consumers may have storage. They already have diesel generators. You could eventually or soon have smart appliances, deferrable loads. So the bottom line and the biggest change, International Energy Agency just released the World Energy Outlook last week. And their biggest mantra this year was flexibility. And consumers should be a part of that story of flexibility. Now there's 2 elephants in the room I'll just share before handing over to our panelists. The first is, elephant in the room is TOD. So let's just think back to a rooftop solar. Rooftop solar, someone sets it up. How much do they set up determines, are they consuming all the units themselves or do they have surplus parts of the day and they give it to the DISCOM? So that raises the entire spectrum of the policy questions of gross metering, net metering, feed-in tariffs. These are very complicated because of the second elephant in the room, which is Indian policy on energy, which is social welfare redistribution. We have, for example, differential prices between commercial and industrial. C&I consumers pay the highest. We also have slabs. So the richer households, ostensibly, the bigger consumers pay the most. Who is going to set up a rooftop solar? Is it the poorest of the poor? Not really. It's going to be the large users. So now look at it from a DISCOM perspective, that the paying customer, quote unquote, is the one who's going to first go for rooftop solar. And now that same person may feed into the grid in the middle of the day and then say, I want to do net metering, which means that one measurement technique, they will be compensated equal to their marginal tariff when they take back power at night. That is expensive for the DISCOM because said consumer is using the grid like a battery. Are they paying for that service? So these are some of the strong policy questions that make this a complex thing. But at the same time, there is value. So first, I want to close with one thought, that it is not that there isn't value for being a prosumer. The question becomes, who shares that value across the consumer and the DISCOM? How much? So prosumer, consumer engagement, the theory is well known. I give an analogy to chess. I'm horrible at chess. Most of you can beat me blindly. But I know the rules of chess. The rules of chess are simple. But the practical implication, what does it mean for the DISCOM, is very, very complicated and evolving. And so with these sorts of opening thoughts, I would like to now turn over to Anjali ji, who's with a DISCOM and can share some thoughts on this. Can we get more mics? Sorry. Or would you like to use the lectern? Please. Yes. Yes. From Madhya Pradesh.
Thank you, Rahul. Good evening, everyone. All the esteemed dignitaries over here on the dais and reverend audience.
Sorry, Anjali, just in the interest of time, requested to be 5 minutes. So we have time for discussion because we have a very, very floating hard stop.
Oh, okay. I'll try to wind it up quickly. Okay, fine. I'll be talking about empowering utilities with data science, transforming customer satisfaction through smart meters and transformers. Before we dive into the exciting world of data-driven technologies in the utilities services, I would like to take a quick glance at electrical safety at workplace and home. Safety is a shared responsibility. Wherever we are, safety comes first. I won't go into the details because time is running short. So let me move over to the next slide. About my company, I am from MPP KVVCL. We undertake the activities of distribution and retail supply on behalf of Madhya Pradesh State Electricity Board in the areas covered by commissionaries of Ujjain and Indore region. We have a total consumers of around 55 lakhs and we cater to the load of 11,500 megawatt. We have a total employee workforce of around 11,000 people. This is a very brief introduction about myself. I am Executive Engineer, MPP KVVCL. I am the in charge of Operation and Maintenance Division Rajkar, Dahar Circle, MPB Indore. Now coming to my main topic, that is improving customer satisfaction through data science and AI. The point is, I would like to emphasize the pivotal role of data in the utility sector, ranging from smart meter data to transformer performance data, and how harnessing these information and data science can lead to improved customer services. In this discussion, we will broadly cover two main categories, that is electricity bill projection and predicting transformer failures. In electricity bill projection, we will explore the factors that are influencing the bill. We will see how we can train a regression model and which we can use for projecting the electricity bills. We can also offer our consumers some personalized saving plans for reducing their expenses as set by them. We will discuss about this in the later slides. And then my second topic is predicting transformer failures. We already discussed on this, but this is also one more angle to this, predicting our transformer failures for predictive maintenance. So why is the bill projection important for consumers? Firstly, it will create, whenever we get a high bill, it creates a lot of financial strain on the consumer. Though I am a utility person, but still I do feel that exorbitantly high bill gives an electric shock. It's not like electric shock basically, but it gives a shock. So, but it is a shock, it is a big shock. So, and even as a utility person, it is a shock for the utility person also because it increases the number of complaints and consumer dissatisfaction. That ultimately also harms the trust between the consumer and the utility. And also there are several problems like individuals limit their energy usage and discomfort which gives them a discomfort during the extreme weather conditions. It brings some budgeting challenges and increases the dissatisfaction of the consumer on the utility. In this slide, I've also pasted some real-life examples. We can see how the consumers are dissatisfied and they are showing the notices and they are not utilizing the energy. These are the pics of some dissatisfied consumers. Now, so did we ever thought that there can be a possible solution to it? So we will discuss about the possible solutions to improve the customer satisfaction, and we will see how to implement that and also the approach involving it. Firstly, I would like to discuss the importance of weather. Weather plays a very important role in the prediction of bill. Weather and KWH usage has a very has a linkage which we can utilize for projecting the future bills. In this case study, I've seen that we can use a linear regression model to link the weather and the KWH data to project our future bills. Similarly, we can also compare bills of this month to the same bills of last month and same month last year, and give our users a better understanding of their KWH usage. Then we can also empower our users to set their usage or their bill for the in advance for the upcoming months, and they can be notified when their bills or when their projected usage goes beyond that limit. This will overall have an improved billing experience.
Sorry. Are you sending an SMS to the consumers that they...
Sir, we are not sending. This is just a case study. This is being done in American utility. But I am just proposing the idea that we can also do it here, and this will be very helpful. We can also give our customers a personalized energy saving tool based on their usage pattern. Coming to trends and seasonality, we see that this graph basically illustrates the usage pattern for two random customers. We see that every customers have a very different consumption pattern. For customer, which is here in the graph 1, there is a summer spike. This customer's energy usage spikes during the summer, and similarly for customer 2, the energy usage spikes during the winter. We see that each customer's usage pattern is tailored to their specific needs, household sizes, and the number of electrical appliances they use. Similarly, there is a weekly trend also. In weekly trend, we see that the consumption increases during the weekends time. Obviously, during weekends we stay at home or we involve in other leisure activities, whatever. But in this way, our consumption is dependent on it has a weekly trend, and similarly, our consumption pattern has a monthly trend. Also, I would also like to emphasize that each customer has a very different usage pattern. We can't say that all the customers have a high weekend spike or has a high or the monthly usage graph is almost same. Every customer's usage is very different. So it is very important to have a particular model for each and every customers. This is how we train our model, and what are the predictor variables, what do we require for training our models, and what will be getting as the output. In this, we will be needing the 1 year data of 1 year KWH data of the past 1 year KWH data of the consumer, and if 1 year data is not available, then the accuracy of this model will be low.
2 minutes, please.
Yes, sir.
Just a reminder check.
Okay. Then the other input variables which we will be needing is the past 24 hours data, and we are also taking into consideration whether it is a COVID day or a holiday. Then what we will get as a model output is the project actual usage, forecasted usage, total usage, actual cost, forecasted cost, and the total cost. So this is the model architecture. There are some of the rules which we follow during implementation of this model. That is, when the model accuracy is less than 65%, we don't project we won't project the bill. Similarly, if the account is less than 30 years old, there is no projection to avoid the chances of high bill projection. Net meter consumers and all inactive consumers, for all inactive consumers, there is no projection. The model is retrained every month, and the riders are updated monthly. These are some of the personalized energy saving tips which we will be giving to our consumers based on their particular data usage pattern. Now, risks and challenges involved during the...
You were using We're using TOD data like smart meter data.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is in
So
this,
then you can get up
yes,
insights.
TOD data. Yes, we have to
Excellent.
use the TOD data,
Excellent.
right? Okay. Obviously, like in every idea, every new projects, there are some risks and challenges. So in this also there are some limitations. That is, for the cases where there is a meter dial rollover, or the meter is tampered, or the meter changes. In such cases, the projection is not possible. Then there are infra issues for data collection and integration data. Then there are issues of data security and privacy, and also model accuracy. Now coming to, as time is really short, I have to go through it very quickly. Coming to the predictive maintenance of transformers. We have seen that in one of the case study, we have seen that by plotting the graph of the voltage of the consumers connected to the DTR and checking in this voltage spikes, we can successfully prevent our transformers from getting failed. The main cause of transformer failure is obviously winding failures, which occurs due to overvoltage and voltage surges from transient events. Overvoltage can lead to stress insulation, leading to dielectric breakdown. Then to avoid these winding failures, this is an idea. This is a failure prediction case study from an American utility. In this, what they did is that there was one of overvoltage concern which was identified from a consumer meter. In the voltage went beyond 230, the nominal voltage, for 5 to 6 hours, and they replaced the transformers, and the customer voltage was maintained, and the transformers was also prevented from getting failed. Similarly, this is one of the data of our utility. In this, we have this is the data plotted from July 22 to August 22. In this, we see that for a group of consumers, there was voltage spike, and as we replaced the transformers, the voltage went back to the normal level. So these are the three logics which can be used in that. That is, if the voltage goes beyond 6% for 24 hours, or if the voltage goes beyond 8% for 24 hours, or 10% for 6 hours. These we can propose all the three simultaneously, or we can use one by one. But one by one these thresholds, and we can propose our report, monitor them for 6 months, and find out possible DTRs for replacement. This is one of the real world example. In this picture I am there. One of our PTR failed, and we were very the consumers were very dissatisfied, and even we were very stressed, because it was not that easy to replace that in the stipulated time. So I just thought that if we could apply this thing, and if we could get that information earlier, and we could replace it, then we can help the consumer from unnecessary shortage of unplanned outages and unnecessary shortage of supply. This will obviously improve customer utility relationship. Thank you. I think I completed.
Thank you for rushing it. Sorry,
yeah.
we were short.
Okay, thank you everyone.
So, couple of most interesting things. I mean, through technology, one, you get a sense of what's going on. Then you can catch if there's a problem, including outliers. One of your graphs even showed outliers, so that billing would show it. But the most important thing, I think, from a consumer perspective, is what do I do about it? True for the DISCOM as well. You would need to change the transformer with that learning. But for the consumer, if you could get tailorized information saying, oh, it's probably lighting, or it's probably fridge, or it's probably AC. These are the insights that will tell you that either you change behavior, or you change appliances, or you start saving money in the bank to pay the bill. So these are the sorts of insights that can come from such projects. Thank you. We'll switch gears, and now I request for about 5 minutes if Anand can share some insights. If we could load the slides meanwhile for Mr. Menon.
First of all, thanks to ISGF for inviting me onto the stage today. Second year in a row, actually. Thanks a lot. Meeting environmental targets through deploying centralized variable renewable energy sources is certainly a fast-track way of achieving national goals. And we are doing that to a great extent in India. But it has its fair share of problems. So the first problem what I would like to explain here is called time and space. Production of renewable energy thousands of kilometers away and transporting that to distant load centers means network expansion, increasing the costs to a large extent, very large extents, and this shows in the electricity bills. It is no surprise that countries, advanced countries, where there is a large amount of renewables, have more expensive electricity costs than other countries. The second is about grid stability. There is always an operational demand that has to be met when you have online sync generators in synchronization. And if there is a problem on the threshold of the minimum operational demand, then the system loses stability. So this means there needs to be curtailment, and that's also not something that we would like to do. Not to mention inertial deficiencies because of plants going out and not going to be replaced anymore, all the coal plants and the fossil plants. System strength is also another topic. And all this are the problems that you face with increasing centralized VRE. The third problem is huge amounts of additional ancillary services in the form of following reserves, inertial reserves, frequency reserves. These increases the cost to a large extent. Normally, ancillary service costs should not exceed 3 to 5% of the total system costs. We know that in the UK, it's expected to be 15% in the year 2030. So all this means that meeting goals is good, but there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed when we have an uncontrolled and indiscriminate rise of variable centralized renewable energy sources in the grid. Now, a solution that comes nowadays much more to the minds of people is all about decentralization, stems from decentralization, and the topic of local energy markets, decentral energy markets, is coming up more than a buzzword in many countries. And I would represent such markets as resting on 4 pillars. So there's no better business driver in this whole scenario than the customer itself. So having the customer as a market participant in providing an agile distributed market is one of the best choices that governments and utilities can make. Not only that, it helps to address economic inequities, because just now we were hearing that richer people can afford to put solar. What about the consumers who are paying the retail rates? There's nothing in it for them. So if you want to think about consumers, then the consumers also gain when they're able to buy energy at a lower rate than from the retailer or from the DISCOM in India, from their peers as prosumers. So it helps to address that economic inequity. That's one of the major pillars. The second one is provides a robust business model. So subscribers, meaning prosumers, consumers, have the option to voluntarily decide whether they want to switch to a peer-to-peer method of trading from their normal tariff structures today, whether it is net metering or net billing or gross metering. They have that option. They can freely decide when to opt in and opt out during any defined time interval of their choice, 15-minute intervals, half-an-hour intervals. And by doing that, they can increase their revenue stream. Now that's as far as the consumers and prosumers are concerned. Now the DISCOMs can also collect transaction fees on each unit traded, and by doing that, it can also meet their RPO or renewable purchase obligations so as to avoid penalties. And these are going to be becoming mandatory in the days and months and years to come. So also we know. So basically it's a win-win model as a concept for prosumers, consumers, and DISCOMs. The third is it enhances grid stability, because when you have a decentralized method of ramping up, what we are essentially doing is solving the problems at the cellular level. That means under the feeder level, in the distribution substations, increase self-sufficiency and ramp up gradually. By doing that, you reduce congestion and improve voltage imbalance issues on power quality. Also, you are able to reduce the cross-country energy transfer of thousands of kilometers between load centers and generation. And by doing that, you are cutting down on costs, which is also very important for the electricity bills that you're paying. Well, if you have battery storage systems at a residential or at a community level, we call it community level, especially in the EU, or grid-sized batteries at the distribution level, that helps the problems to a major extent. And with the price, with the drop in battery prices expected over the future, and with India also, I think, going to a target requirements of 50 gigawatts until 2030, then that is something that we will look forward to improve the grid stability under the feeder level. The fourth, and the most important point, as we see here, is that as you increase the number of prosumers and consumers and want them to become market participants, there will be millions of transactions on a daily basis as more and more citizens and more subscribers get onboarded onto the platform. Now what that means is that centralized databases would not be able to handle such large volumes of data, and there needs to be an efficient record keeping and immutability. So for that, blockchain technology with smart contracts provides the ideal solution. And there are different technologies, so just to say a sentence or two about this.
So just a request to
hurry up.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
okay.
Yeah.
So Gen 1 to Gen 2 to Gen 3. So Gen 3 blockchain technologies is what we recommend and what we use at PowerLedger. And this helps to increase the throughput of transactions and create faster block times. We have done very large number of projects globally. So following some projects in Thailand especially, where we traded 700 kilowatts, we did a lot of pilots and successful demonstrations in India, and there are some high-level key learnings that we found out. So rooftop solar, its uptake can be incentivized through a better business model than what you have today. We all know that deployment of RTS has been delayed, and deadline has been extended by another 4 years, in spite of all the net metering and gross metering and billing policies that we have. Second is, utilities can fulfill their targets and reduce the quantum of power. Customers can buy, instead of open access, it can be traded through P2P. There is a large amount of potential on deferral of investment for network expansion, and there is a big opportunity for DISCOMs to increase revenue on every traded unit of energy and not be subsidizing like the net metering that we have today. So the key takeaway here is that the P2P trading offers a robust alternative to current tariff structures to promote rooftop solar. So what is the current scenario today? Centralized VRE leads to a very high FCOE. But people always talk about LCOE, levelized cost, on a marginal unit cost of electricity. What needs to be taken into consideration is the FCOE in all the network expenses and the amount of battery cost that needs to be incurred to make it a stable grid. Second one is the proposed or present tariff structures and also the central subsidies. They're not able to accelerate the growth of DERs as we see today. The third is simulation studies globally have shown that with batteries, there is a reduction in exports and imports to the tune of 25% on grid congestion. So keeping all this in mind, it would be good for utilities to reduce any potential for solar curtailment in the future to come and have a better dynamic operating envelope so that CAPEX can be deferred. It's a very big advantage. There is a comprehensive lower cost model that they can propose as a market grid solution through local energy markets. We can pursue a tariff restructuring model. Regulators are open to this, as we know. UPERC issued the guidelines some time ago. Delhi is following suit, and so are other states who we are discussing with. It creates a positive involvement. There's an economic inequity problem that is also solved, so social welfare, as was mentioned by Rahul. So with all that, we see this decentralized energy markets as a good solution as we move forward to promote rooftop solar in the days and years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope we'll get to the discussion. So by speeding up, we'll get implications for Indian consumers and Indian utilities. So just one observation. For this to work, you would need a meter at the rooftop generation site. Just net metering, like you said, is not the answer. So a policy lesson for all the DISCOMs, utilities, is right now it's just net metering centric. You will need to understand how much solar is generated at the sort of net metering can also work with. So we'll come to that as a question. But certainly yesterday we heard about behind the meter, how many units are generated is also important from a national accounts perspective. So I would now request Birendra Chaudhary from Noida Power to share some thoughts briefly. And so to get to more discussion, request you to try and focus on the key points, please. If they could load the presentation from, yes.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to talk about the project that we are doing for the P2P energies related to P2P energy trading. Like just Sir has explained how the UPPCL, UPRC has given a guideline. UPRC has given guidelines and a framework to how the P2P trading can be done in UP. Right. So we have actually started this project and released the RFP.
Birendra, could you move closer to the mic?
Okay. Yeah. So we commenced this project a few months back and released the RFP according to the guidelines we received from UPRC. And accordingly, we have received the offers from multiple vendors. Currently, they are 18 numbers. So we are just in evaluation phase and finalization. So once we finalize, we issue the purchase order for the implementation of the project. So we talked about, we heard about the net metering concept that is in market in a few years back. So through net metering, actually we have multiple solar customers who have installed the solar rooftop panels in their premises. They are exporting energy to the grid. Now nowadays it's getting balanced. Whenever we have the billing, monthly billing cycle, the particular exported energy get adjusted in their bill. So on left side, it's showing a traditional model where all the extra generated energy which is transmitted to grid, exported to the grid, it getting adjusted in the monthly bill. But once we implement the peer-to-peer energy trading platform, once we have the platform with us, so the scenario will change. The prosumer who has the rooftop panels on their premises can sell the power on the particular time on TOU basis, on time of users basis to the other customers of NPCL. Obviously, they will utilize the network of an NPCL to supply the power, and NPCL will get some benefit over it for some transmission charges. And obviously, aggregator will get some value of it. So this is the just integration flow. The metering data that we are getting through the AMR, or we install a smart meter data get transmitted to head-end system, or our homegrown MDM system, that is the meter data acquisition system. So metering data will we collect as per our existing setup, and accordingly metering data we pass to blockchain platform. Blockchain platform, it's a create a proper it's a kind of a customer ledger. They will create the smart contract between the prosumer, between the consumers, utility and the aggregators. All the smart contract will be created on the same platform, so that the energy accounting can be done. Again, the blockchain platform will get integrated with NPCL billing system, so that the whatever energy consumptions and energy transfer from the prosumers happen, it's impact the billing system also. We will modifying our billing system as well as per the requirement of prosumers and consumers accounting. So these are the benefits for the prosumers and producers. Additional revenue stream they can get. Nowadays they're just getting benefits of exported units. Incentive to increase the RTPB installations over the grid trading. Better return for excess energy as compared to the supplying it to grid. As a customer what will get? It's a lower cost as compared to the current cost. Promotion of renewable energy, participation in demand response measures, improved energy access for consumers in grid setup. Aggregators, fee for hosting the platform, additional revenue stream. And for the DISCOM is again, it's going to be beneficial also. Demand side management and offsetting RPO obligations. Fee for uses the electricity network. New revenue streams and changing from the centralized system to decentralized system. These are some parts that UPRC guidelines, that the UPI has issued the guidelines and framework to work on. As I said, we have received an offer from 8 entities. The RFP process is going on. So maybe it will be going to finalize in this financial year only. We kick start the implementation in this financial year only. So smart meter integrations, we are to trade with the prosumer and consumer. We are going to install smart meters in the premises of prosumers and the consumers as well, so that the granular level of accounting, energy transmission, accounting can be done at the granular level. So blockchain platform will be used for the API integrations. Blockchain platform will provide us the posting meter reading data to the blockchain platform, retrieving transaction data from the blockchain platform into the SAP billing system. And trading algorithm, again we will define the trading algorithm, what the algorithm will be used when the particular prosumer selling the particular unit to any of the contracted consumer. Billing integrations, we have our in-house team to work on the ERP, work on the billing system. The team will modify the billing schemas to cater the requirement for the granular level of billing for the consumer and the prosumer side. Obviously testing, once the implementation will be in through, the testing process will happen, including the outside consumer and prosumer's account. End user training, again, as per the guidelines received from the UPRC. So we have to train each and every consumers who are participating in this platform.
Can you just mention consumers? Are there size thresholds or category or any restrictions or anything like that?
Yeah, I tell you, Currently, we have a net meter installed. Approximately, there are 24,000 customers who have the smart meters, prepaid smart meters. So, for the rooftop solar installations, approximately we have 400 customers as of now. And they are transmitting approximately the 300 million units in the grid.
But these are not LT2, these are not residential only.
These are not residentials.
Yeah.
These are not residentials. So, so those customers we are targeting as a prosumer. We can make those customers as a prosumer. Obviously, consumer will be 2 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt load of consumers. Maintenance and support, again, the implementation partner will have the responsibility to maintain the platform as per the requirement and continuous support for all the stakeholders. And the reporting so that the consumer will get, consumer and prosumer both get the mobile application so that they can view the current uses of the power, what power they have received as a customer, so what power they have sell on the particular slot as a prosumer. As a utility, we can see the complete dashboard, how the particular unit of unit is getting transmitted from one prosumer to other consumer. Yeah, thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you very much. So I must commend in this and now scaling up to other locations. So lots of implications as well. It's not as, I mean, there's almost a zero-sum game problem. So the people who are most likely to go for it are the ones for whom there's most money on the table. That's natural, it's economic, but then there are other potential questions to be addressed through long-term policy as well. We'll come to that. Now I'd request Mr. Mishra to share any brief remarks, and then we can hopefully have a discussion on these points as well.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alok Mishra from DNV. The top themes of this session have two keywords. One is prosumer and second is the net zero. And both are the very vast topics. I'm trying to combine both together and how it can help to the utility, and more especially we are in the DISCOM event. So how this going to be benefit to the DISCOM. So I will just take 1 minute time to talk about DNV. DNV is almost 150 years company, and one of the major aspects with DNV that every year we used to spend our 5% revenue in the R&D. And from that R&D project, we used to be get multiple research paper, standard and other things we develop. And there are many industrial standard which we develop, which across the globe all the industries are following, and mainly in the offshore wind and other aspects, including the digital technology. So when we talk about the Indian subcontinent, last year the population population of Indian subcontinent was 1.88 billion. And we are expecting that by 2050 it will be 2.32. When we talk about the more specifics on energy use, at presently it is around when we talk about energy use, it is 51 EJ, and we are expecting by 2050 it will be 101. Mean almost it's going to be double. And when we talk about the CO2 emission, it is 3.0, and when we talk about 2050, it is 3.9. Thanks to the recent technology and the way society developed themselves, we are facing the way we are energy going to be double. Our emission is going to not double. My colleague Assos had covered DNV energy transition outlook, so I'm not covering those aspects, but I'm just talking about one of the aspects, how global emission will fall, and but science to technology and science to society, it's not fast, not as burst, and we are toward the positive, but still it's not fast enough, which we are really looking for. At presently, we are 23, we are expecting like -4%, and by 2050, we are expecting it -4%. So we, as per DNB ETO, Energy Transition Outlook, we forecasted that CO2 emission in 2050 would be 46% lower than today, what we are emitting today. And by 2030, emission were only 4% lower what they are today. So when we talk about forecast associated with 2.2 degree of the global warming above pre-industry level in the end of this century, that is good sign. But when we talk about the limited global warming to 1.5 degrees this year, that will be less likely to be ever. In place of transition is far from fast enough to net zero energy system by 2050, and this would require roughly having global emission by 2030, but our forecast suggested that ambition will not even be achieved by 2050. That is going to be a challenge for us. Now I'm coming to talk about the prosumer. As presently, when we talk about our energy value chain, there were the 4 major components: generation, trading, retail, and passive customer, which actually flow the money, and it will be flow to the generation. And it is supported by the T&D, transmission and distribution. But when we talk about the prosumer, it is coming between the generation, trading, and retail consumer. And it was supported by T&D, this one. So when we talk about the decarbonization, decentralization, and electricity demand supply, prosumer concept gets created. It can be the very depend upon the system, like immediacy of the renewable generation leading to platform shift to the supply from demand. Yeah, demand follows the supply. That is one of the major aspects when we talk about the demand side management. And this is something which needs to be prosumer can help. And one of the good example, and the NB had that did the very good in the RNM with the support of grid with the help of B2G technology, and we did almost 10 years back that real time with the DISCOM. And it also helped to the sector coupling, like electricity dash, electricity heat, electricity transportation. Like PGCIL, one of the best example in India, where they, along with the EHV line, they also do use the fiber optics. That is also one of the very good sector coupling. Now, not only the technology, which we talk about the supply and demand side, are entering the energy market also a new player, an existing player in the market entering the area. So now I'm talking about the topic, how the prosumer can be helped in the net zero plans. So the NV developed a method, and it's what basically on the 2 things. First is the asset, and second is the what they are actual meaning of the net zero plan. Because when we talk about the net zero plan for any distribution, utility, or any, there is a multiple aspect. Such thing will be avoided, and such things are not avoidable. Like I'm taking an example of a transformer. Let's suppose transformer is manufacturing in the Chennai, and it is shipping to the Delhi or Gujarat. There is a long way to go, and at present scenario, we have only one option, that is truck. When we go from Chennai to Delhi, almost 3,000, 4,000 kilometers, it will go by the diesel generator, and lot of emission is there. But presently, it is still long way to go to emit those type of emission. But still there is some emission are there which we can be avoid, and we can easily, like when we taking about the disposal time. So I'm talking about the what DNV have developed the model. So we follow the 4 steps. We do the greenhouse accounting model, whether and we do the forecasting, and that is based on the system planning and how energy transition pathway for the particular utility. Based on that, we developed the decarbonization map, where we talk about what are their plan, how they want to be achieve, what are their milestones, what are the KPI they develop for that, and based on what resources they allotted. Based on that public disclosure, commitment, and progress, we do the analysis, and based on that, we do the implementation at the asset. And we combine all, again we send this feedback to the forecast model, and based on that we also go the accounting model. So we do the lot of iteration on that, and based on the scenario we develop that what would be the ideal plan to go to the net zero plan for that. So I hope keeping time.
Thank you. Yes, we'll come to some discussion. Thank you. And it's not a silo level problem where you look at a technology in isolation of the systems level implication. I think that's a key takeaway. Now, there's a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of challenges as we scale it, because scale is probably the number one thing. Just to give context, the Indian per capita electricity consumption is 1/3 the world average. Our emissions are roughly half the world average. Emissions are a little poorer because we're coal heavy. We don't have as much cheap natural gas. So clearly there is at one side growth of emissions, and now the question ahead of us is 2 or 3 fold. How do we make it as clean as possible, secure and affordable as possible at the same time? The energy trilemma. If I could ask, there's one single slide I want to show a graphic from, if they could load that. Because even when we talk about everything so far, has been either a solution on the supply side, so there are good technologies available, or there's demand side. You've talked about the demand. And really the consumer is where both of these have to come together. And it's not clear we are ready or DISCOMs have prepared for that. If they could share the one slide. Do you have the slide, please? So what we have is a future coming up where the electricity shouldn't be thought of as the same. We think of electricity like a basket of fruit, 5 rupees a kilo, 5 rupees a kilowatt hour. But that basket includes lychees, mangoes, different types of electricity, different time of day, different quality, different greenness, different predictability. These are Indian power exchange data for the last 12 months, 12 different curves, 24-hour daily curve for each month. And what do you see for the day ahead market? These are actual data we've compiled. This is the future ahead of us, that morning and evening is when you have scarcity of a net demand. Because in the middle of the day, you are getting good amount of supply, through enhanced by, of course, other technologies and so forth. But you do have a dip in prices, and that dip will only accelerate as we grow our solar portfolio as a nation. So are we ready for this sort of a world? And then the question, opening it up to everyone, how do you see the consumer? Because as a consumer, I don't really want to sort of think, oh, it's now this time, now let me change my cooking. I will do my cooking or cleaning or bathing when I want to do it. So how do we really bring this supply and demand together? Open questions, yeah. Hello.
Thank you, Rahul. First of all, now consumer is no more consumer. Now we move to the pro-consumer. And we, based on our research which we did in the ORNAM, one of the society, where what we did, depend upon the condition, depend upon the electric supply, especially which unit want to be made as a reference point. Here we are talking about the cost. We make a cost as a reference, and depend upon the cost, we make the programming, make the sensor, and if let's suppose that there is a, especially except food, prepare the food, which we are using the heater, that is separate situation. But let's suppose that I'm talking about washing machine, dishwasher, EV charging. We can automate those as the based on the reference point, which is coming from the grid, and it is based on that it could be run on the rail. And we successfully demonstrated on that.
So V1G was the technique for the EVs. But again, in India, as of now, neither are the protocols standardized for V1G, neither are the APIs public and standardized. So there is a lot of work to be done, and DISCOMs have a role. They should be at that table where they're mandating or asking for these standards. Because otherwise, as a consumer, you go, when you reach home, you plug in your vehicle, and that's it. You don't want to come back 3 hours later to your car, go down to the basement of your apartment to now plug in your car to charge. Anand.
Yeah, so when you talk about consumers, now we've got high load consumers, low load consumers. So high load consumers can certainly be incentivized to become prosumers, especially if we have the different type of tariff models like peer-to-peer. Low load consumers, that's the economic inequity that I was talking about. So today they're paying much huge bills, and they can always pay much lesser if they can go through a new tariff structure and buy from their peers. So anything to do with reducing the load, now that is something that a time of use tariff is supposed to achieve, but if it is not achieved by time of use tariffs, then at least it is possible to turn the consumers into prosumers so that they can increase their self-sufficiency and then make sure that, well, if battery costs come down, then it's even better because then that reduces the strain on the grid. So either way, if you want to talk about reducing grid congestion, then having batteries and increasing self-sufficiency vastly helps the situation.
So now, turning to our colleagues from the DISCOMs, let's assume we do want to make sure we add TOU to this equation. On the supply side, I think it's only short term if we ignore the time of use. I mean, this is a very stark graph today, but as solar will grow from around 65, 70 GW today to 280, it's a 4x growth of solar projected to 2030. The picture would lead to not the duck curve. Many of you would have heard the duck curve, but now it's the canyon curve, going down to zero in the middle of the day. So are DISCOMs, A, ready for that, and B, how would they see engaging with consumers to really get them on board? Because ministry has announced some plans towards TOU, but there's a lot of steps to get there. Any thoughts or plans?
Yeah. So, as per the guidelines the UPRC has issued, actually they have provided a discount also the less tariff if we are using the green energy, if we are utilizing green energy. So there is a existing tariff which is applicable to all the day, all the night. If you are using green energy, then there's a discount, there is the lesser price. So currently it's a focus on the rooftop installations only, because the rooftop generate powers in daytime only. So there is a benefit to the whoever customers come in this participations, they will get the benefit of green energy tariff.
But is it restricted in the sense from a demand side? If I want green power at 7 p.m. when solar is down to zero, then what happens?
Then the solution is again battery storage.
That's costly though.
That's costly. That
Yes.
again, it's a kind of evolution that is required when we going for the energy storage kind of thing. So that is maybe again in coming time there may be some solutions also be available if we are using green energy in night time.
So is one solution to say that, so this is a chicken and egg problem. Either we say that you expand the portfolio on the supply side, or you say we take the existing supply side availability in the short run and we limit either the tariff discounts or the green credential to those time periods or state of grid. So instead of calling it time of day, we can call it state of grid, because it's not as if only by clock the grid conditions would be there. So which would you sort of see as being the short-term solution for India?
Short-term solutions, again, the things we can prioritize, the customer can prioritize in a day whenever the green energy is available in the lesser cost. So in short term, again, I see this is the way out, and once the storage, power energy storage will come, maybe through the battery storage, maybe through the pump energy storage. Till then, there is such energy storage availability is concerned. So it's available in daytime only.
So that is a fundamental issue because like my house, and I have a behind the meter smart meter put in, so I can see real time. If my wife and I are both working, the consumption is very low during the solar period. So that is a challenge. We have time for just maybe one burning question, if there is one from the audience. There's several, but could we limit it to the sharpest question? And if it's directed to anyone in particular.
So this is regarding P2P. The utility will lose revenue because it's losing the customer. So how does that help the utility?
So just to understand, you're saying that, for example, the consumer sees instead of 7 rupee, they're getting it through the P2P example given at 5.6 was what was shown. So that is a win for the consumer at the expense of the DISCOM. Is that the...
Yes, DISCOM loses that revenue because this no longer people are buying from DISCOM. So in that sense.
Okay, just to explain that, today in net metering, they're not getting anything. They buy at 7 or 7.5 and they sell at 7.5. So if they had bought at APPC and sold it at 7.5, they would have got that 2. So the 2 is no longer there, so today it is 0. So instead of that, there is a P2P price on which a DISCOM can put a transaction charge or a wheeling charge, and this can be worked out for each state so that the buyer, the seller, and the DISCOM can benefit. This was what was proved in many of the pilots. Because in NM, DISCOM loses the maximum. So today, DISCOM doesn't get anything with net metering. Gross metering, they're very happy.
So
Right.
that's the larger question. I mean, people have questioned how much can net metering scale, because that is the worst for the DISCOM.
That's the worst for the DISCOM, but this is better, P2P. You put a margin on
Or
that.
gross. Or a differential feed-in tariff.
But all these models can be worked out because today's is not working anyway. Right?
Sir, one just consecutive
Briefly,
question.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. All P2P, whatever I have gone through, studied, all the transaction platform is blockchain. In literature and everywhere I saw. However, in India, where we are using the open access, is not dealing with blockchain at all. They have a bank. From bank, they are doing the transaction of market clearing amount and everything. Blockchain platform is itself is a very costly affair. How you can justify that one in retail electricity, retail P2P electricity with blockchain platform that which has a very costly affair and
It's not costly at all.
Yeah. So there's more than one blockchain technology. I think we can discuss it more in detail, but people think blockchain as crypto of a particular kind. There's more than one blockchain that's available. And so when you say that cryptocurrency is using as much electricity as Ireland or Argentina, that's a whole different beast than what's at stake here.
This is a more involved question and not when we are about to miss the boat. So I think there needs to be more information given to dispel that fact or that fear that you have.
It's a legitimate question, but the good news is that it's not as bad as some blockchain technologies are or were. Yes, those. So these are low energy, low transaction costs.
That's proof of work, and what we are doing is proof of stake with proof of history. So blockchain has evolved a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why
It's a
it's not
legitimate
relevant.
worry, but good news is no. So I think as we come to the close, we've only scratched the surface of consumers, and Anjali ji sort of reminded us with her photos that the way consumers have interacted historically is when something goes wrong, the protests or what you're showing. So I think one other lesson I would have is Too often we rely on technology or smart meters to look for sticks. You don't pay, we'll cut you off. Can we figure out what are carrots for consumers so they're more eager to participate? Because I close with the mantra of Silicon Valley. The only two things that drive change are fear and greed. So hopefully we can look for better ways to drive change. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful session. I would like to request Raji sir to be on stage to felicitate our speakers, and we quickly move into the valedictory session and rush you all to the boat. May I request Rahul Tongia ji to please come forward to receive your felicitation. Please put your hands together. He was our chair and moderator to the session. Mr. Anand Menon, Director, Digital Grid Projects, Power Ledger. Sorry, we are rushing it through because you all know the reason why. Anjali Vishwakarma ji, Executive Engineer, MPP KVVL CL, Indore. We have one more person to help with the ushering, please, because the valedictory function also has another person to help. Would be good. Thank you, Anjali ji. Shri Alok Mishra ji, Business Lead Power Grid APAC DNV. And Shri Birendra Chaudhary, DGM IT NPCL. May I ask all the speakers to please come forward for a photo. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick valedicting Rajan and Kubragade sir to please come onto the stage, Additional Chief Secretary and CMD of KCBL. Could I request Mr. K.R. Jyotilal sir to please join us on stage, Additional Chief Secretary and Energy, Government of Kerala. Could I request Mr. Ashish Goel sir to please come onto the stage, Chairman UPPCL. And Ms. Reena Suriji to come onto the stage as well, our Executive Director, ISGF.